Hello, everyone. Maneko64. I'm a little early. I saw there was a lot of people waiting. 43 already, even before I started, and 20 thumbs up already. So yeah, the title of this live stream is Can Central Banks Revive Faith and Credit or Faith and Confidence in the System? Well, I'm not too sure they can, because our system is a debt-based system now, a fiat money system, and it needs for the economies to keep going. It's a little bit like the hamster wheel. If the hamsters stop going around the wheel stops, and we are the hamsters. And we don't know what this crisis that's happening. I still think it's too early to know how bad it's going to be, but I think it's already been quite bad in terms of confidence in the economy, the supply chain, all we've heard. I spoke about the supply chain and traveling and tourism about 10 days ago. So 84, that's good. That's really good. So we've got water shambles, high water shambles, SW, Hi Prudenda, nice to see you here. Vajra, Aaron Levy, only my POV. Hi, only my POV, nice to see you. Fed didn't lower rates this weekend. Not yet. They still got time. I see that I've been falling a little bit, not too much, but the weekend IG index, they have the Dow down about 560 right now. So the futures, they open in just over 2 hours, 2 hours and 10 minutes. So Fed has got a couple of hours. I don't think they're going to do anything this weekend. I think the market's still going to have a tough time. It's going to go further down, but it will bottom soon, I think, and it's going to go up. I don't know where from. I heard a great analyst on King World News, Michael Oliver. He's looking for a level around 1970 to 2100 in the S&P, so that's quite low. And from there, he sees a rebound, but he thinks we're in a bear market now. SW, he shared a link to this. Thank you. Jeff Logue from South Georgia. Alice Photo from California. PH2, I think this virus has ensured a recession, definitely. I think the Fed and the mainstream economists, they're still trying to act normal. But just like the market was acting normal until last week, that's also going to go out the window. I think it's a lot worse. The economy was already, the recovery was long in the tooth, over 10 years of economic expansion, and that's unusually long. And I listened to an interview, Jim Rogers with Kitco. I think it was yesterday, and he said as well that he thinks there will be a recession. He actually said, I'm going to go out and buy some gold. He thought gold was a good value. Dead cat bounce incoming. Yes, but I think we still got a rough time over the next week or so in the stock market. Precious metals, who knows what's going to happen. Oh, I just want to say I made a video yesterday, and the analogy I used, I misquoted the quote. It's throwing the baby with the bathwater and the bathwater. I said throwing the baby out of the bath. I meant throwing the baby and the bathwater out. So anyway. South Philadelphia, I don't think the Fed can hold it much longer, because the fiat money system is based on people believing it. Credit, really, if you go back to the Latin, it means to believe. Credit, credere in Italian or Latin. And I think we're getting to a point where people are going to lose faith and the credit, the belief. I think the big precipitous drop in the stock market last week is showing that already. And I think that's going to bring, unfortunately, the whole system is going to be disrupted massively. And why is that? Well, because our credit-based system is based on asset prices that have to keep going up, not only stock market, but housing prices, bond prices. And why is that? Well, because the only way that growth is created these days and the economy keeps growing is through more debt. But they have to make sure that the debt becomes worth less and less so people can pay it off or roll over the debt. For example, you bought a house 20 years ago for $100,000 and you took $50,000 mortgage. Now the house is worth $300,000. Your mortgage is worth $30,000. So it's much easier. You could sell the house and pay that off. And I think now we're seeing we could be seeing the beginning of the end for that kind of thing that's been happening for, well, you could argue that it's been happening since the early 80s after Volcker killed, let rates go up to 20% and killed the inflationary, scenario. Menho Donahue, hi, how are you doing? Yeah, Billy, I had to go pick him up because he went up. He was upstairs most of the afternoon and evening, and he was asleep upstairs. So I had to go and pick him up and bring him down. Lord Humongous marches the silver lining in the sky. Yeah, gold and silver. It was amazing move on Friday. I'm not concerned. If anything, it's a good thing. We don't want to see it go up too quickly, so other people have a chance to protect themselves. Vajra, would you wait for a bottom here in gold and silver, or would you continue dollar cost averaging? Always difficult to tell where the bottom is. Yeah, I would continue to dollar cost average. Yeah, Billy is guarding the gold and silver. The other thing I would, with this virus going on, I don't know if any of you know, I was invited to go to Holland on March 20th for a conference, and I'm still going. The guy who organizes it, I sent him a message and said, "You guys still good for it?" And he said, "Yeah, we are." And is it a risk? It could be a risk for me in terms that they could. Maybe I go there on the 20th. I think I'm flying on the 19th and coming back on the 21st. I could fly there, and all of a sudden, people, the UK could say we're not taking any more inbound flights from Holland, and I could be there for 2 weeks. I'm willing to take that risk. I'm not going to stop doing things just because of the scaremongering, even though I think this is getting serious in terms of, and there's a lot of speculation of how it evolved and what triggered it. But be as it may, I think things are not, I think this is a big thing. It's the pin or the bazooka that blew up the bubble, so to speak. And I still think there's people out there who are burying their head in the sand. They expect the markets to bottom and then everything to resume to normal. I don't think we are in that scenario. Trader 586 thinks gold is going to correct for months. It could. I mean, we could. The thing is, we had corrected since the top in September. I think it was around 1586. We corrected for about well, 3 months already. So I'm not sure. The thing is, the stock market crashed so quickly that I'm not sure about the cycles. I'm not sure if it's going to take that much longer for gold and silver to rebound, but you could be right. That's why there's a market. That's why there are bids and offers. That's why there are buyers and sellers. But in the long term, it's always good to have gold and silver, so I'm not concerned. We've got Timmy Chonga. Timmy Chonga, I used to be on a chat with him and some other guys. Timmy Chonga. Pablo Pina's here. Yeah, I saw Lord Humongous, the panic in is it Brooklyn and in Hawaii, people going to Costco. But I think it's prudent to get a bit more supply. To be honest, I've been going the last week. I've gone more. My wife, a lot of times she does the shopping, but I went with her. We did extra shopping, bought a lot of canned goods. And then I've been back twice to buy more stuff, toilet rolls. So, and you go in the supermarkets here, everything's normal, but I think it could change. Am I panicking? No, but I think people will panic and they could clear the shelves very quickly. I think it takes, normally, if things are normal, we've got 3 days of supply, the just-in-time supply. But if people panic, it could go very quickly. Hi, Gary D. So we got 294. That's good. 74 thumbs up. Maybe a few more thumbs up would be nice. Well, I bought quite a bit of this. I know some of you say that I could make my own colloidal silver, but I think it's just simpler to buy some, probably a bit more expensive. And I bought 3 of these from Boots, which is a chemist in the UK. They're empty, and I just fill them up with the colloidal silver. And I spray my hands and my face a couple of times a day, like that. That's instead of using the disinfectant, use colloidal silver. So I use that. Full of Hope spent $800 on food pantry top up. Why not? Even if nothing happens, you can always consume that later on, can't you? Bitcoin and crypto. To be honest, I actually I'm still positive on cryptos, but I would say with what's going on right now, the uncertainty, I think Bitcoin is going to outperform the other altcoins, but longer term, they're still good place to be on, in precious metals and cryptos. Have a sip of water. William Birkenroad from La Jolla, holding coins, Ethereum, selling auction silver coins. I like La Jolla. I was there many years ago playing golf in the early 80s. Torrey Pines, beautiful place. Dennis says, problem in America is we outsource jobs since the 80s. It's the same thing here, Dennis, same thing in the UK. Yeah, floods in Wales, I saw the headlines. The other thing that I've noticed, there's some good pages that keep track of the coronavirus. I don't care if I say it, but there's a world map of where the cases are, and you notice how there's very little in Latin America and Africa, and that's because it's sunshine and warm. So a lot of people say if you get sunshine, there's a lesser chance that you will get the flu. Jim Diggs, do you think the gaps will be filled anytime soon? I guess you mean in the stock markets. Um, Difficult to say. I mean, they probably will be filled. For example, after the 29 crash, I think it took until the 1960s for the market to regain the top. So we could refill those gaps, but it could take years or decades. At the top, like around 30,000 or 3,500, 3,400 in the S&P. But I do expect the markets to rebound. But I think we've still got further down to go. There's some people talking about 2,000 the S&P. That would be around 17, 18,000 in the Dow. And then we could see like a 30 to 50% rebound in the markets from that level. That would take the S&P back to 3,000. Excuse me. Linda Adrid, is Harry Dent correct? I don't think so. Harry Dent has been wrong for many years. He's been calling for gold to be at 700 for many years, and gold just keeps going up. I think the problem with Harry Dent, he doesn't realize that he thinks that if we do have a deflationary collapse, which I think we could be in the beginning of, he doesn't realize that in the 30s, gold was actually money and the dollar was gold, and that gold actually went up in a deflation. He looks at gold just as a commodity. He doesn't understand that gold is money. So that's the problem with him. He doesn't realize that central banks, the only asset they have that can save central banks is gold. That's the only way they can fix their balance sheet, is by letting the price of gold go up to rebalance their balance sheet or fix their balance sheet. So that's the problem I have with Harry Dent. I think he'll be right about the stock market and the economy collapsing and deflating, but not about gold. Yeah, Yagi, gold is still up on the year. I think it settled at 1515, 2019, and we're still at 1585. So gold is up in the year. Jim Diggs, do you think the powers that be could use this martial law? Yeah, they're already using it. I think that's the other thing I'm thinking. I almost forgot. It's very important. I think they could be using this as an excuse to let the system unwind. Because I've been talking for years, not only with you guys, but also with friends and family, that it's impossible for us to keep going with the system where you need ever more debt and debt. It's not sustainable. There has to be a correction, or how can I say, a destruction of the debt. And this could be the perfect excuse. And they could blame it on the virus and not on themselves, the central banks who created all this bubble by saving the system, corrupt banking system in 08. They should have let the system collapse. I don't agree with those who think they did the right thing. People fail. They should be held responsible for their actions. We shouldn't go out and bail them out. No one bails me out or you guys out. But why should they bail out the bankers? And I think that's what they're going to have to. I think they're going to use this as an excuse. That's why I think it's More important than ever to hold on to your precious metals. Quite a few people here. That's good. Almost 400. Oliver Bristow, good excuse to take us cashless. Yes, that's another good excuse. I agree. As Ram Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste. I'm sure they're going to kill a lot of birds with the same stone. US dollar is the strongest of the fiats. Yeah, but they're still gonna the US dollar is still gonna go to zero. So it's just gonna take a little longer than the other fiats. So I wouldn't hold on to it too much. Or to too much of it. Walid Alonzi thinks silver will be the future. Who knows? I think I don't have a set mind about anything. I think the market should decide what's the best kind of money, gold or silver. Gold is usually more for bigger amounts, for saving, for larger amounts of wealth. Silver is used more as day-to-day smaller transactions, so you could be right. Kumar thinks a big war is coming. Not sure if they're going to need a war if we've got what we've got right now, and they can use that as an excuse. They might not. Might not be a war. Need a war. This is already going to be quite bad. So another couple good YouTube channels that I like. I'm not saying they're right, but I recommend Peak Prosperity. Probably some of you already listened to Chris Martinson. But I also I went back to listening to Cliff High again, and he's making some good videos about what's going on with this virus. I've been following Cliff High for over 10 years, so but lately I hadn't, and he's got some good videos. Aaron Levy thinks Bitcoin is money, everything else is credit. Don't forget gold, Aaron. MMNO says mash the like button. Yeah, that's good. Lily Robinson, yeah, gold is indestructible. I think it's only aqua regia that dissolves it. Yeah, that's why it's money. One of the reasons why it's money. Cliff High, Jazz Atwall. He's yeah. I'll type it here. Cliff High on YouTube. Only one F. Cliff High. Yeah, SW. I think the Fed will pump. Not only the Fed, but also other central banks. I saw that the Italian government said they're going to pump a few billion into the fiscal, but I'm not sure that's going to help. All that could do is have a rally in the stock market, and then people will take that as an opportunity to sell. So like a dead cat bounce. Harry Chu, I don't think it is blown out of proportion, actually. I'm not too sure, but I think it's quite serious. It is quite serious. So I don't know, but I'm not letting it stop me from doing normal things. Actually, I'm fortunate that I do a lot of my videos from home. A few years ago, I was going to work every day, taking the train underground, working in a big office with other people. So in a way, I'm happy and glad that I'm at home more. But I think I don't think it's blown out of proportion. General Stack, can gold get to 5,000 an ounce? Yeah, I think it could. I mean, and I don't think that's unrealistic. People who talk about 50,000, I try not to think about those numbers. I think if we get to 50,000, the world would be even worse than what we have now. 5,000 is fairly realistic, actually. So yeah, it would take maybe, I don't know, 2 to 3 years from now, or maybe less. Uh, 903 Boulder thinks Cliff High is a wacko. Fine. I don't agree with everything Cliff High says, but he's got some good information. SW says is watching gold tonight. Yeah, we open at 11 London time. So just check here the weekend stock market. I've got the Dow down 574. It's not a great indicator this weekend. IG index betting. We really need to wait until 6 p.m. New York for the futures to open. What comes after the stock crash? I think the bonds will crash after the stock crash. That will be the next crash after the stock. I don't know how long it will take. Yeah, Harry True. I think they could that could be the next step to bail out the big corporations, and we're going to be paying for it, the taxpayer. Deutsche Bank, well, I think Deutsche Bank and Commerzbank, they dropped just like all the other banks recently, but Deutsche Bank had done really well since last year. It almost doubled in price. They're all zombie banks, not just Deutsche Bank, but JP Morgan, all the banks, big international banks. They're too big to fail. So yeah, Lily Robin, that Grand Canyon story, I've read that many years ago. I don't really buy into that big swear theory. What I know, I think back in 1912, they did find some prospectors did find gold, but the problem was that it was too costly to dig it out of the ground, and I don't think there's as much as Big Swear thinks there is under the Grand Canyon. Yeah, I think it's. I think there is some gold there, but it's not as much. And you could be right; it could be a hoax. Hi, John Meyer. He's late. Yeah, but we've only been around for 28 minutes, so going to be around for a while. Bitcoin can't operate without silver. Well, silver also is a good antiviral, antibacterial. I think people are still underestimating it right now. Yes, there is VAT on silver on bullion, but you can buy other silver that you don't pay VAT on, like the junk silver or the old circulating coins. You can buy it also from Germany, some places where they don't charge VAT. But I wouldn't worry about the VAT. I started buying silver when it was £3. And I was worried at the time that I had to pay the VAT, but it's insignificant now with the price at 14 or 15. I think, Lord Humongous, there's gold in a lot of places around the world. The reason why a lot of times it's not exploited or people look for it is because most places it's really hard and expensive to get to that gold. So, but I think the higher the price of gold goes, the more places people are going to try to get gold. Jeff Snyder's take on why bond yields drop, he thinks is because liquidity shortages and thus a flight to liquid assets. I haven't listened to this guy, Jeff Snyder's, but the thing about the bond market is, the monetary policy of the central bankers, the only way to inject money to the system is to lower rates. And the only way to lower rates is by buying bonds. And people know that, so they kind of front run the central banks. What he said there could be right as well, though, but I haven't listened to what he said. I didn't listen to the interview. Dutch president, there's a lot of prospectors channels on here. Yeah, there's a guy in Australia. I think I've subscribed to his channel. He actually goes to the beaches in Australia with a metal detector, and he finds loads of jewelry because people go to the beach, they lose their rings. But I give him credit because he actually tries to find the people who lost before trying to sell it. Golden reward. That's good advice. Everything's fine. Be sensible, be alert, but not alarmed. That's right. Harry Chu. Yeah, a lot of people talk about that people are selling gold to cover margins. Maybe that's partly true because the gold that traders trade with is not real gold. They're not trading coins and bars. They're trading paper. But the thing I would say, how come bonds didn't go down then, because bonds are going up. Why didn't they liquidate bonds? So I think it's partly that, but also there's manipulation. The bankers don't want gold going up too quickly. They want to discourage people from protecting themselves because that goes against their agenda. The BIS themselves, they probably act as agents for the central banks because they're like protected. The BIS is like a sovereign country, even though they're in Switzerland. So yeah, we know that the BIS have accounts with the CME who own COMEX. They probably did intervene for other central banks. So, the Fed and the Bank of England, the ECB, they can come out and say, no, we didn't do anything in the gold market. And it's true because it was the BIS who did it for them. Why did gold crash on Friday? Well, there was more potential sellers than buyers. That's the obvious explanation. But why? Well, it's paper gold. It got caught with all the other assets falling. I think the bullion banks they knocked it through 1625, which is a key support. And once they do that, all the other speculators, they get out. And I think the bullion banks, what they're doing on Friday was buying back their shorts. So that's why it fell. It didn't crash though. Gold is still up, on the year. It was a correction. I didn't see anyone around town queuing up to sell their gold. I'm sure no one else did as well. This was just paper. Magma Sunburst crypto manipulator. I'm not too sure about that, even though the Bitcoin futures was set up a couple of months before Bitcoin topped. But I think the move in Bitcoin was so massive a few years ago, and we corrected. So it takes time for it to go back up. Maybe there's a little bit of manipulation. There's not too many people who own. There's a very few big concentration of how, of people who own a lot of Bitcoin, so they can move the market around. Gold silver ratio, yeah, it could go up a little more, but we're really at high levels. I think, I don't know, we're at 93. That's really high. Dennis, I'd love to think that we'd get rid of central banks, but who knows? They're very powerful still, but you could be right. I wish we could get rid of them. And that's why I make a lot of videos and I sell my end the Fed mugs and shut down the Bank of England mugs. I hope one of the ways to get rid of the central banks is to educate people about how central banks are not really a market-friendly institution. They're a monopoly. They're against free markets, and that's what we need to put out there. They're not friendly to the market, central banks. Graham Hobbs, do you see the markets over the next 10 days? What do you see? Can we expect the metals to drop? Let me just have a sip of my water. Yeah, in 2000, from 2007 to 2008, up until March 2008, gold went from 600 to 1,000, and the crisis, subprime crisis, started in 07. It culminated in September, October of 08. So gold was going up throughout the crisis, topped in March, and then it made a top at 1,000. And then when the crisis culminated in Lehman collapsing, gold dropped just below 700. So it was still up from the beginning of the crisis, and then it quickly followed back up. But the crisis in the stock market, it took about 18 months for the stock market to correct, from September 07 to March 09. But now we've had almost 16% correction on Friday. We're down as much as 16% from the top, only 14 days prior, business days prior. So I think this market crash is going to be much quicker than 07, 08. Yeah, gold could still go a little lower, but I don't think it's going to take as long as it did from 07 to 08 for it to correct back up. So I wouldn't sell my gold now and wait to buy it back lower, because you probably won't even be able to get it back. So I would hold on to it. Back in, I remember in 08, when gold dropped from 1,000 to like 680, the premiums were like 10%. So actually, you couldn't buy physical gold for less than 700. You're paying actually almost 800. Yeah, Lily Robin, that's good advice. Reduce your debt. Trader 586, gold will correct. However, the miners are going to get killed. I think they're already gotten killed quite sharply, the miners. Joko, whose fiat currencies legalize counterfeiting? I agree. I mean, how come, we could write a piece of paper and say, I promise to pay the bearer the sum of 10 pounds, and you've got nothing behind it. And that's what the Bank of England do and other central banks do. Mano Donahue, I think the Fed meeting is actually the 19th to the 20th. So yeah, they could cut rates before that. Yeah, definitely. Lorenzo Mari from Golders Green. Hi, Lorenzo. Yeah, it is, Graham, the 10%. And I remember that time really well because a lot of people, I was in the city still then, and people were kind of puzzled why gold and silver were going down so much. But the drop was really quick and it didn't stay down there for too long. I think it's going to be even quicker this time. Uh, Gogi Gogibo 66. No, I did not watch the video. Sorry, I didn't. PEH2, what would happen if the Fed increased rates? Well, it would really make last week look like a picnic. I don't think they will raise rates. I don't think the central banks, the way the system is, they will ever raise rates again. I can't see that happening. Maybe, in 30 years' time. Prudenda thinks we're going to have another Black Monday. You could be right. I think we had a Black Week. The last week of February was a Black Week. AR, boring channel. Okay. So you can leave if you think it's boring. Lily Robin bought a bag of junk silver before the market crash. Yeah, I've got a lot of silver. I just hold on to it. The other thing about having silver or gold, physical gold and silver, is like it feels like saving, right? And you're reluctant to sell it. So if you had that wealth in the bank, it probably would have been spent already. So that's another way to look at it. It's a good way to hold on to it because it's precious. Harry Chu, yeah, I'm not surprised about those Chinese numbers. Do you think cutting rates have an effect on the market? They might have a little short-term effect, but I don't think they will be as effective as they have been in the past. Jim Diggs, do you agree with Lynette Zhang? Buying numismatic gold over bullion is the way to go. I've been to her. I had an interview with Lynette Zhang, and I like her a lot. My wife likes Lynette, but I don't agree totally with that view. I have some numismatic coins. I'm not a numismatist. I'm more of a bullion guy. So I think it's all depends on the individual. Depends where they are. Maybe Americans might think that it's safer to have numismatic because it's exempt from confiscation. But numismatic gold coins, I would buy the least collectible ones because you pay less premium and they're still exempt. I wouldn't buy highly, the rare ones, the very collectible ones, because you'd be paying a lot over the spot price, and you might not be able to get out at a decent price. Yeah, I don't think they will confiscate the gold, Prudenda as well. Back in the 30s, gold was very important. Gold was money. Gold was used in the system. Nowadays, very few people even know what gold feels like or what a gold coin is. Asia opens in an hour and a half. Yeah, the futures open as well. The US futures, they open it at the same time. Utica's Maximus, when is your view of the bond bubble bursting? Well, a lot of people have been waiting for that because the bond bull market has been going on since 1981 or thereabouts. I think we're getting closer. And why do I say that? Well, because I think the stock market is going to burst first, and we're seeing that. So we're getting closer. It's difficult to say exactly when. Trump versus Bernie. Well, I saw that, what's his name? Creepy Joe Biden did well in South Carolina. So it looks like he's getting a little bit of a boost. John Meyer, thank you for the super chat donation. Appreciate it. Harry Chu, anyone buying equities? Well, I saw Jim Rogers. He was interviewed with Kitco. He thinks that Asian airlines and hotels and airport companies are a good buy right now. He thinks he's going to buy it. I'm not too sure about that. He could be right. So right now, we've got IG weekend trading. We've got the Dow down about 550, even though, when the futures open, it could be completely different. So I wouldn't really put too much emphasis on this weekend trading. It's just a betting system in the UK. Creepy Joe Biden, yeah. Well, the other thing I haven't heard people talk about the U.S. election is that with what's going on, that started in China, let's say like in Italy, it's getting really bad in South Korea. What if it were to get really bad in the U.S.? Well, I think there's a possibility that they could cancel the elections and Trump could stay as president. So that's what the other thing I would say to people about the election is that it could be canceled because they could use that as an excuse. So there you go. Trump would stay as president without having to go through the electoral process. And I'm not saying that I don't think Trump could win an election. I'm just saying that that could happen. Because I think he would probably wipe the floor with anyone right now. You could have to vote electronically. That's true. Any prediction when China will get manufacturing back to full capacity? I listened to an interview, Cliff High, CLIF High. He did an interview, I think a couple of weeks with a Chinese guy from Hong Kong. Didn't sound very good. So I think it's going to be a while until China is able to get back to normal. Yeah, I saw that, Shane, first death in America, Washington State. Yeah, Jason, I saw that as well. The UK Health Secretary, they could do the same as they've done in China, shut down cities. Let's hope it doesn't happen. The trigger for mining stocks, I think, a rebound in the bullion and also even a rebound in the stock market, the general stock market. And that will probably happen, but it's going to take, I think it's going to take maybe a week or two more weeks until the stock market bottoms. Who knows? Gold technicals. Yeah, I will probably talk about that in the video. It's easier for me with the charts. But long term, they still look good. I would say short term, we could go a little lower in gold and silver. Dennis Michael thinks if Trump stopped the election, there would be civil war. Well, it's possible, yeah, but if this thing spreads and is a hazard to the population, they might have to do it. I'm not saying it's, I'm not saying they could use it as an excuse, but it is a thing they could do, and you could be right about the consequences. Yeah, Lily, I think the Fed's like deluded about being able to stop the repo in April. It's gonna be repo to infinity. Yeah, wisdom 420 pawn shop open forever. That's what it is. The Fed is acting as a pawnbroker in the repo market. All right, I'll take a few more questions and then I'll call it a night. SW, hit the like button. That's good advice. And that's a good live stream for our channel. 450 almost. That's good. I'll take some more questions. Do another 5 to 10 minutes. There B3, what is going on with gold and silver? Well, they're up on the year. They corrected a little bit last Friday. Not much, really. They're still safe metals to be in their money. So what's going on is more with the fiat currencies that are going to continue to be issued at big amounts. So I continue to hold on my gold and silver. I don't, some of you do trade gold and silver as a paper, as speculation, and I've done it in the past. But and that's different. But medium to longer term is still the best insurance against inflation. Pound versus the dollar. The pound's looking a bit weak. It didn't really do very well last week. So I think we could go lower, maybe 125, the next target. A cable, 130, a good resistance right now. Thank you, Aaron Levy, for the helicopter money. Super chat donation. What will it take for helicopter money in the US? Well, they could do it indirectly through the tax system. They could just send, they've done it before, I think. They could send every taxpayer a $2,000 check in the post. So not sure the Fed would do it themselves, send people a check. It would be more the Treasury. But then that would also be, they'd be borrowing that money from the future, though. So it wouldn't really quite be helicopter money. I think they're going to try to avoid doing that, sending checks, like the Fed sending checks or someone like that. They would never do that. The bankers always want their interest. El Tomo thinks Trump could devalue the dollar next week if Fed doesn't cut rates. Possible. Oh, there's a strong dollar. He likes using capital letters. Okay. Yeah. Well, gold and silver are beating the dollar this year. They're still up against and I wouldn't even call it a dollar. What we've got is Federal Reserve notes. A dollar is a weight of silver, strong dollar. Anyway. Sehun K from Bristol in the UK. Good evening, Sehun. Well, they could cut rates, of course, in their meeting. It's a two-day meeting, 19th and 20th of March. So they could cut rates on the 20th of March. I think Goldman Sachs sees them cutting rates 3 times, like from April. Or they could do it this coming week. If things get really, if the markets keep dropping like they did last week, they could come out and cut rates before the meeting. They can cut rates anytime they want. Oh, you're welcome, No. Thank you for being a moderator. Strong dollar thinks gold and silver are going a lot lower. Okay, I think strong dollar is what's the name? He's a troll, so that's fine. But that's why there is a market. There's people who sell and people who buy. But I'd rather hold real money instead of debt. What's the saying? Gold is the money of kings. Silver is the money of gentlemen. Barter is the money of peasants. And debt, or the fiat dollar, is the money of slaves. So strong dollar, if you want to remain a slave, hold on to your fiat dollar. That's what I say. Adair B3, look at my video from yesterday. I made a whole video about how gold reacted in 08 with charts. So yeah, go to my channel and look at yesterday's videos for that. All right. Again, thank you everyone for showing up for the live stream. I will, of course, be talking to you tomorrow morning, and let's see what these markets have to, let's see what they do next week. I guess we'll find out in about an hour and 15 minutes where they're going to open with the futures. So take care, everyone, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.